to give you a little bit of my background, I've been doing investment banking for more than 20 years. I started like in early 2000 in M&A project. I don't know if you know much about investment banking jobs, etc. So a lot of data crunching, quite intense. Been working on some trading floor and doing a lot of derivatives, very creative stuff within finance. I entered the game design slash video game industry. So for the past 10 years. And this is why. So when I met with Taro, etc., I was amazed because there was no gamer at all in the company at such time, and they were able to monetize a lot. And I was like, okay, there are no gamer, they are monetizing I'm a gamer, I was not monetizing Oh, they could have some synergies between us.
Yeah, like he had something that you wanted and you had something that he needed, right?
Yes, exactly. And so this is how I started in 18 with Goama. So my current view here is that on the App Store, on the Play Store, there are literally millions of games. You could discover millions of games. But if you categorize them by underlying mechanics, then you end up only with 52 gameplays. So this is a classification that I took from Game Refinery, which is a consulting company specialized on gaming. So on the bottom of my slide, there are always the links, so you could read some literature about this gaming classification. So what I'm saying here is that so there are 52 gameplays globally available. You can rank all games by these 52 gameplays. And among them, most of them would be available on HTML5, like 33 would be available on HTML5, and maybe 1920 gameplays wouldn't be accessible to HTML5 because the cost of dev would be much too higher. I'm talking here about MMORPG, builders, battle arena like Fortnite, this kind of the games, that literally needs millions of budget to be released. So this one we can forget. But if we get specialized, and we could do very good by simply being good on 33 gameplays here. And so my vision of a perfect portfolio games, it's not about games, it's about gameplays. So we need to be strong on some gameplays here. So this is the category developed by Game Refineries that I like to follow within our game list and our portfolio. So we would only focus on casual sport driving. Why this category? Mainly also because the mid-core is not accessible. Role-playing games, so, like these games like Zelda or whatever, and some other battle royale, Fortnite, they are just not accessible to us. This is not our DNA. This is not our field of competition. So we shouldn't do this. We should rather produce some good HTML5 games rather than these huge budgets. So you can skip all the orange. And I was skipping also the casino because casino, as you certainly understand, there are a lot of rules, regulation. There is this gambling aspect, and we are on the other side. We are not providing games with any luck or any gambling mechanics. So we can forget the casino for this reason. And we are left with casual and sport and driving. So these are the main categories that you would find under our portfolio. So basically all our games currently, they would rank, they would be among these categories left. They could be, and they would be classified by a genre and by a mechanic. So the genre here would be puzzle, arcade, hyper casual, simulation, sport, driving. And when you dig under, there is a mechanic. Let's say you are doing hyper casual because this is where we are strong at. Hyper casual underlying mechanic. It could be a swipe and drag where you are skiing among the three. It could be a type timing kind of mechanism where you just need to tap at the right time to be launching your knife in each knife. This is a tap timing mechanism. So all the games I would classify in this way. And when we do so, then we discover that, okay, our past portfolio, I'm talking here about the portfolios early this year, last year, it was quite unbalanced when you look at the portfolio under such angle. Why? Because you would say here, okay, we are strong on hyper casual. Last year we had like 52 tournaments running, but among them there were 22 hyper casual, meaning it was 42% of the total. And among all these games, 13, so 25% of our portfolio was tap timing only mechanism. So very concentrated around hyper casual and tap timing. On the other side, the puzzle, for instance, they would only account like for 8 games, which is 15% of the portfolio. So we were highly poorly diversified and very highly concentrated on the hyper casual tap timing mechanism. And this is a danger. I come from a finance background, and I know that when a portfolio is not diversified, then it's a danger. Because of this lack of diversification, it would give you a low value for your game. The long-term value of your whole portfolio would be quite low because it's highly concentrated on one sub-mechanic, and then you are forgetting all the rest of your audience because suddenly you know that all the puzzle lover, you wouldn't have them. But yes, but puzzle lovers, it's like 60% of a decent cohort. And so if you propose only a stupid ship up game to all these people, they would just leave your platform. And
that's correct.
And so it was lack of retention and with high risk. And what I'm saying is that we should adapt to our audience, and we need to diversify in order to be very sticky as a platform. And what I've been pushing for the past year has been, okay, we need to be stronger on the puzzle side. Why? Because we know that the games, these are market data here, we know for sure that the puzzle game, for instance, are more sticky than other games. The D1, the D30 retention of a puzzle game will be much higher than the D30 retention of a tap timing hyper casual game. So I was requesting a diversification toward puzzle games. And this is how I develop this new tournament architecture that I'm showing here. This is what I was discussing, starting from the very first page with my games. Then you can have a view of on the second page of the games that I've designed, and yes, the page before, yes, exactly. So these were the games, and then the methodology of classification that I was describing you, with all this concentration among the portfolio. And this is the last slide, indeed, that I was talking about, or the retention metrics that you could see for a puzzle or word games, which are better on the D30 with higher stickiness compared to other games. And this is where I shifted to the Excel that I've shared with you as a second link. And so this is a new structure of tournaments that I've been working on over the past 10 days here. And so I wanted to deploy the efficient portfolio theory. Efficient portfolio theory. So this is a theory of finance, which was released in 1952 by Markowitz, and an economist, and he won the Nobel Prize for this work on the theory of portfolio. And so basically what he says is that you can optimize the risk return of a portfolio of stocks through diversification. Because a portfolio of stocks would give you a return and a risk profile. And the risk being measured by the volatility of your expected return. And when you do this with stocks, so with multiple data points, at the end, if you display this as a graph, it would be a frontier, it will be presented as a cloud of points with a frontier. And this frontier is the efficient frontier, meaning that for a given level of risk, you are maximizing your return. And his theory is that you can move to this efficient frontier portfolio with diversification, because diversification will reduce you the volatility of your portfolio, will reduce the risk, and could maximize your return. So I have inserted in this Excel spreadsheet, so I have presented it like an observation, assumption, test objective, purpose, and I have inserted some links towards finance theory. And this is interesting. And what I'm saying here, okay, we could deploy this methodology, but instead of saying we have a portfolio of stocks, we would rather say we have a portfolio of games.
Okay.
Because up to now, what we've been doing at Goama when we're launching a new tournaments is that you would base your selection process based on past performance and based on some scenarios about the prize pool, the total entry fee, and the duration. And these were the three key metrics that you were taking into account to deploy a new portfolio, a new tournament.
Okay.
And what I was saying here is that as data proves, this TIF, total entry fee, I call it TIF, price pool and duration, and they fail to explain the daily volatility that you are experiencing in your revenues. Because I talked to all the other tournament managers in Asia, and each day they would have a lot of volatility in the daily revenue. They're launching a tournament, sometimes it works, that's great, and then 2 days after, this is not at all the same profile of return, and they don't know it to explain, and then they relaunch a new game with a different TIF, PP, or duration. They would observe, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. And what I'm saying here is that because TIF, PP, and duration doesn't mean that much. It doesn't mean engagement. It only means that someone is competing for the prize pool. Because they're attracted by the prize pools, they want the money, so they want to play. They will pay for this, but it doesn't mean at all that they are engaged in your game. It just means they are ready to pay to fight for the prize pool. But we are failing to capture all the engagement metrics of the game. Because all games are not created equal. Games have different patterns. A hyper-casual game such as Eat the Knife has a totally different engagement metrics compared to 2048. Both are good. Both have their audience. both could monetize.
I have a question. So,
Yes,
well, several. The first
yes.
one is, are these metrics calculated within what we have seen on our platform worldwide, or this is just a calculation on a specific market?
No, these are global metrics that have been run, by many consulting agencies in gaming, such as Game
Mhm,
Refinery and others,
mhm.
computed over millions of games.
Okay.
And from this study, I have inserted the link below for important studies, and you could read them. And also, I have attached and pinned a very important study within the tournament general thread in Slack,
Okay.
where are defined all these metrics. And so the underlying metrics of the games, they do vary according to each genre. Um Usually, the engagement metrics, these are the D1
Hmm.
retention. So how many players are the next day? D7, how many are left after 7 days? The D30, and the stickiness ratio. The stickiness ratio being measured by DAU divided by MAU. So it's
Hmm.
basically say how many, what percentage of your monthly players are here every day.
Okay.
And these profiles are very different from a game to another.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean that one game is better than the other. It doesn't mean that Flappy Bird is much better than 2048 or vice versa. No, it's just saying these games are different, they're different patterns, so they should not monetize the same way.
Hmm.
Because some games are very strong on D1, but are very poor on D30,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Then I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yes, yes, go ahead. No, 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 no.
No, no, I was gonna say that one of the things that I agree on, definitely when you were talking about the diversification and that we don't really have that. So to start, one of the biggest challenges we have in Latam, for example, is that the clients request from us games in Spanish, right? Because that's their native language. And unfortunately, on our catalog, we only have 12 games in Spanish. So you can imagine the challenge because we have to work week after week with the 7, 12 games because we don't have any more, right? Games in Spanish. So we recently cut up a deal with one of our clients to amplify the catalog and translate, I think it's 50 games in total that the team is right now working on. But of course, still, it's a big challenge for us because not only we have to kind of accommodate to what this client specifically wanted, because we're not translating the games based on this metrics, right? And we should. We're just doing it by the client request, right? Because he's paying for that. But if you ask me, I think that our catalog should have both languages, English and Spanish, because otherwise we're going to be limited to work with the 12 or 13 or 50 games that we have, and that's it. So introducing variety with such short catalog, it makes it really hard for us to, like work out the things that we want and monetize in the way that we should. So that's just one thing for you to keep in mind that I think is really
Yes,
important that we
yes,
discuss, because as you know, like we have many clients right now coming for the Latin market. Most of them, they come with personalized games, which is not a problem, but some of them are not, like Mock and Nikki, and right, like new partners that we're closing deals with. And it's really hard for us to kind of manage this when we don't have enough to work with, right?
yes, I totally understand. So there is a good point here because uh, honestly, I believe that when we have a good portfolio of games, if the games are good, they don't need to be translated. Okay, because the gameplay mechanic will be so intuitive that you don't need a tutorial. In the
Yeah,
best
you
game, you don't need a tutorial.
you might think that, but our clients demand them to be in English, because even if you're not an English speaker, right, and you only speak Spanish, like most of the end users from our clients, even if you put the word start, they don't understand that. So you need to change that to inicia, right? So
Yes,
small
or a
things
triangle.
that could
What I
be,
mean is that
yeah,
you could do a triangle and
yeah,
play triangle, and it's multicultural.
yeah. And so it's still a challenge. Like the language barrier has a lot to do. So I have to be honest with you because it has happened with us. It happened also with
Okay,
Rappi. So when we had
okay,
Rappi, we had kind of the same feedback, right? Like there was not enough portfolio of Spanish games, and most of the games were located in the Latin market. Just the one was
yes,
for Brazil, but
yes,
okay, it's one market, right? Like we're not gonna
yes, yes,
translate everything to Portuguese, but
yes,
the Hispanic market is huge. Like
yes.
it's the second biggest market, right, around the
I agree.
world. So we should
Yes.
have a portfolio to
You
back that
should
up.
localize. Okay, because there were two issues. In fact, there is one issue which is lack of localization first, and second issue was the portfolio itself because it's undiversified, and so you
Hmm.
were sometimes proposing really poor game, I believe.
Yeah, of course, because as I said, for example, with Neki, luckily for us, we are doing the translations for mock, and those games are gonna work here as well. So that's a relief. But if we didn't have that, then we're stuck with 12 games, and we have to make the best out of everything with only 12 games that are not
Impossible.
the
It's
best,
impossible.
right? Exactly.
It's not possible.
So
No, this is good that you give me this insight because I know that the game producer are working on some translation, but I don't have the exact list of games being translated because if they translate a poor game, I don't want a poor game to be translated because it will show you
exactly,
bad metrics. In any case, it shows bad metrics in English. It means it shows bad metric in Spanish. There is
exactly,
no difference on this one.
exactly. So I agree 100% with you on that, and that I think that is it should be one of the first things that we need to revisit from our catalog, because as I said, right now we're translating 50 games, but they were handpicked by the client. It's not our recommendation, it's what they wanted. So I'm not sure that we can replicate that for everybody, especially Nikki, because probably they're not really good. Right, some of them are,
Mhm.
but not hitting to the target that we're looking for here, right? If we're gonna go with this model, which I think it's completely, I mean, um, let's say, it is reflecting the market, right? Like we know, I mean, I know because I've been doing the TM work for a long time and CM work. So I know that puzzle games are one of the highest hooks that we have, and they are the ones that cause most of the times more engagement towards the users. And then we also have sports driving, especially in Latam, is a huge deal. So those are like the second favorites game. Say we're I'm sorry, second favorite games. And we have is hyper casual that has like endless runner and all of that. That it's for Latam at least, endless runner is like one of the top favorites and one of the favorites of all of the clients we have. They always request that type of game. So I agree with this, and I think it's great if we can implement it. But an hour in, we're very limited because we have to work with what we have. So it makes it harder.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But we can then translate and put the translation effort on a given portfolio that we identified first, rather than saying, okay, we should deploy all our games in English.
Exactly.
I would rather say, okay, you can forget about half of our portfolio, which are very poor. So I
Mhm.
don't care if you are translating Ship Pop or Goama Bumper Attack or another shitty game in Spanish. I don't want them. I don't want them in English. I don't want them in Spanish, and
Uh,
because they are too poor.
yeah. So
And
I think that one of the first tasks that we should put here for this strategy would be like look for the translation of the games that we know we're gonna introduce as part of this strategy, right? Rather
yes,
than
definitely.
the ones that we currently have that are not really good,
Yes, yes,
if
yes,
I'm honest.
yes. Exact. We have to, we know the problem by the source. The problem is the quality of the portfolio first, and also
Mhm.
the random selection. Because from what I
Yeah.
learned, from the Asian side is okay. They have access to the whole portfolio, but since they were only selecting based on the TIF PP duration that I was mentioning, they were not capturing at all the D1, D7, D30 of the underlying game mechanic, and it was not taken into account. So suddenly they would select some games, the next day another games, and they would experience a lot of volatility in their daily revenue. And what I was saying, okay, is that because there is a flow in your selection process,
Mhm.
because you are not selecting the good game for the good audience, they were
Mhm.
like, okay, why are you selecting Flappy Bird as a D30 tournament? It won't
Mhm.
work because Flappy Bird is very good for D1. But the natural churn of Flappy Birds make it such that after 3 days, nobody anymore is playing. So if you're
Mhm.
proposing a D30 tournament with a hyper casual game, it cannot work because your cohort for this game would have
Mhm.
churned too fast. And after 10 days, you are left with 10 players. And so you are missing, you are destroying the top layer of your cohort here.
Mhm.
And this is what I'm deploying. I'm saying, okay, each game should be proposed in accordance with its specific metrics. If you are doing a 30 days tournament, you should propose only hyper casual game in this category because no puzzle game because puzzle games have the highest retention and stickiness ratio over 30 days. It's proven by
No,
the
that's
data.
great. I mean,
So
that's great.
if
I think that we definitely need to, I mean, introduce that. I can show you what we have for, I don't know if you have seen that and how do we work with the accounts in Latam. It's a bit different
okay,
from the Asia market. But we basically, for every account that we have, we create a calendar, right? So for the different accounts, we have different calendars. We have, for example, with Neki, this one. I think this is the updated one. If not, yeah. So what we do, for example, here is that this is just the testing, the control testing. So we kind of put a selection of games that have good stats in the Latin market for us and engaging and gameplays in order to see
but
during the testing.
only based on your 12 available games
No,
because you
no,
were
this one
saying
is
you
a,
have
yeah,
12
yeah, yeah.
games.
Yeah, yeah. But this is a wider range that we use for this testing in Neki because it's a control environment. So we can basically test any game, right? So we did the
Okay,
selection of the
okay,
favorites. And
okay,
then we did the whole calendar based on what the dynamic is. So next week, if we're going to start with the launching, it's going to be the quiet launching, which is basically they're going to release the application for all of the users, but no communication strategy is going to be taken in place. So it's going to be organic. The users that access the platform of games, they're gonna do it because they see that there is an icon, a new icon that says games, and they click on it and they will be taken to the section, right? Then
okay,
the second week is going to be the launching with communication. So here we have several things, and this is how we kind of planned out the things. So first we have two tournaments that are going to be sponsored. Uh, with basically they're gonna deliver prices to the clients
okay,
and during
okay.
this first 4 weeks, right? Then
Can
we
you
have,
enlarge a little? Can you enlarge a little your screen
oh
because I
yeah,
cannot
of course,
read
sorry.
the exact name. I've
Yeah.
seen some names which I don't like, but it's good because then we can definitely review and
Hmm. So after this, during the first week, we're gonna have two sponsored tournaments, and then we're gonna have nine. In total, it's 9 games, two sponsor, and the rest of them are going to be free for the users to play, right? To like try
okay,
the
okay,
games. No
okay,
prizes, no anything, just for fun. And
okay,
then
okay,
during the second week, we're gonna start launching the first paid tournament. So the way
okay,
we have this see like plan is that we do it in in a way of like some sort of like a staircase, right? So because we wanted to provide variety to the clients, right? So the first
Yes,
week we're
yes.
gonna have the large tournament, which is going to be like the 30-day tournament that you mentioned.
Okay.
We selected Pandas Link because in Latin market, this is one of the favorites across platforms for our
Okay, okay, okay.
clients.
Okay, okay.
Then we have Hexagon Fall that will start on the
Yes.
second week, and it will have a 3-week total length. And then we
Okay.
move on to Hit the Knife, 2 weeks length.
Okay. Okay.
And
Okay.
after that, we will start
Okay.
with simultaneous tournaments for
Okay.
2 weeks. But this is according, I mean, this is what we plan, but what we're going to base the next upcoming preparations and a schedule,
Okay.
it's going to be according to the results we have here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
what we do
And
is that we check the metrics of each game, and basically we see how the users are responding to each game, even if they're doing it in the trial period. And
okay.
according to that is when we start planning and basically setting up here
Okay.
the
And
tournaments.
how many tournaments a given player will be exposed to on a given day? If I enter the platform any day, how many tournaments do we have the option to jump in?
Yeah.
Yes, how many? If I
Oh.
jump, any players jump into your platform at any date, how
Mm-hmm.
many accessible tournament he has? Like 6, 7, 8?
9.
Or
It's
it
9
depends?
games. Yeah, it's 9.
9 games in parallel anytime. I can
Yeah.
enter
Yeah,
and
they're gonna
it will
have.
be
Mhm.
9 games.
Yeah,
And
they're
there
gonna
will
have.
be
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, and there will be like long tournament, like 30 days tournament. There will be like 7 days tournament. No, I understand you have 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week. Do you have daily tournaments, i.e. a tournament that
Not.
only lasts 24 hours?
Yeah, not yet. And the reason why it's because with Neki, we had to go through several steps, and not only the dispersion that needs to go there for security reasons, but we need to make sure that the transactions are done correctly, and it's a whole thing for them because they're very strict with all of those things. So we need to make sure that everything complied, that we deliver the prices, that the users saw that in their balance, that we notify. So there's a lot of processes that we have to do
Okay.
before we start a new tournament. So for that reason, at least from the beginning, we did not recommend to have daily tournaments for this
So
class.
what will it be at minimum?
What we're looking for to get the idea with all of this staircase is to end up with the 1 week tournament. That will be the 7-day tournament. So
So the minimum would be 1 week.
exactly. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Minimum would be 1 week.
Hmm.
Nice. This is
Hmm.
nice that you have set up a calendar so you can review, because I understand also that not everything is fixed yet, and we can review and propose some new names. It's up to
Of
us.
course,
I
of
mean,
course, this is
yes.
completely up to us. Like they, except from the sponsor ones, because they are personalized by the brands, but the rest of the games is up to us, right?
What is Croydon? What is Credon Crush? Which one
Oh,
is this?
Croydon
Credon Crush.
Crush
Is it
is
it's a match 3?
it's do you know first game, which is basically one of the variations of Candy Crush, like that type of game is this one.
Okay, it's a match 3 game.
Yeah,
And in our portfolio, what's the original name?
Forest Crush.
Forest Crush.
Yep.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. Very interesting. Super. Can you go back to my spreadsheet and I will get
Sure.
you through? Because if you go there, so what I was saying here is that from a diversification point of view, I want all players to be exposed with as many genres and as many mechanics and as many duration
Mhm.
during a single day. This way, we could provide diversification. This is my
Mm-hmm.
theory. And that for each and every day, they should be adapted to the duration. So, for instance, because right now, for instance, they were dropping, let's say, a 2048 Puzzle Rush tournament. This game has very high D30 retention and stickiness ratio. As you mentioned, the puzzle games are the best for this. But suddenly, the tournament manager in Asia, they would launch 2048, but only for 3 days. Okay, so they
Mm-hmm.
launch for 3 days. So it's performing well on 3 days. The court is very sticky.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly, they kick out the players because they say tournament is over. But then I offer you a new game. And this new game is like a Goman bumper or Sheep Up or another
Yeah,
terrible game.
I see.
And they would display it for 30 days. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but you have killed a good court, a sticky court, and suddenly you are proposing a poor game,
Yeah,
but which is not suited for 30 days.
yeah.
In any case, in any circumstance, you are proposing a hyper casual. You could have proposed a better hyper casual, but in any case,
Mm-hmm.
hyper casual is not meant for 30 days. Here you are
Mm-hmm.
proposing for 30 days, but the natural churn of your hyper casual games will be like in 5 days, no one will be here anymore. So you should have done the reverse, proposing a 30-day puzzle rush, and then very small tournament of hyper
Mm-hmm.
casual. And in this way, you retain the cohort and you cross fertilize all your games because suddenly you have
Mm-hmm.
a very sticky layer of players who are coming back every day because they want to play 2048. And every day they look at their app and they say, okay, oh, there is a new tournament of hyper casual for one day. Okay, I can
Mm-hmm.
try this one. And they would do this. This is my theory that you should launch for 30 days only on puzzle because they're most stickiness. On day 7, again, the puzzles are very good, but I want to expose to some other. I want to expose mainly to sport, driving, arcade because
Mm-hmm.
they come second to puzzle in terms of retention after day 7. This
Mm-hmm.
genre, arcade, sport, driving. And then I would say, and then there's the D1 tournament. D1, hyper casual is super. You can launch it the knife as of day one tournament,
Yeah.
and you will see it would be super because it's highly addictive for day one. It's perfect,
Mm-hmm.
and you could monetize much more. So you have a layer of D30, you have a layer of of successive D7, and you have a layer of daily tournaments
Mm-hmm.
all the way through. And on each every day, you would be exposed to at least like 7, 8 games, bunch of different genre, because you would always have access to puzzle, to arcade, to driving, to hyper casual for 3 different durations. So it's highly diversified. Suddenly someone comes in and he has a good game because previously you were doing it random. And in some circumstance, you would only propose that timing for the whole month because you
Mm-hmm.
don't know to select your game. And that's a shame because you are killing most of your cohort. And it shows in your daily results, which are highly volatile. And they were, this is a strategy of market efficiency theories that I want to deploy. And then we were discussing with Jean and with Dana, who are in
Mm-hmm.
charge of Gcash and Ali Plus. And I asked, okay, what about your best month? What is it? Can we backtest your best month? And they say, okay, my best month was March 23. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's see what you've done in
Yeah.
March 23.
Which
And
games
we're
you
like,
use?
what game was this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you propose Sum It Up, Tap Operator as a long game. Fantastic. These are a puzzle. These are highly retaining
Mm-hmm.
games. And then you propose arcade and a little knife. Okay, super. And by randomness,
Mm-hmm.
you were proposing an efficient portfolio. But then the very next month, you were not able to do it again because you would test another game for another duration and you will
Mm-hmm.
never be able to reproduce your good performance
Yeah, of
because
course.
you didn't
It's
know
not.
that you have
Mhm.
proposed a good portfolio. because you were
Yeah.
not measuring these metrics. But back testing, you were indeed proposing a good portfolio. And when we look at your worst months, you would say, okay, you have been proposing an hyper casual ship up a very poor game or Goman bumper attack or whatever, or Pixel Star for 30 days. So by doing so, you were just killing all the stickiness of your waterfall of core players over the months.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why it explains your daily volatility, because people were paying and they were dropping out and they would not pay for any other tournament instead. And so this is why we have restructured the whole tournament portfolio offer with this layer of the best game for the duration, for the target duration of the tournament, and by making sure that your players on any day is exposed to as many genres as possible, as many lengths as possible, and as many mechanics as possible, because we have classified all of this. And so in every day, on a day one tournament, you would propose a day one, but still they are different, because It's a Knife and Flappy Bird are different. They are very cool D1 hyper casual, but they are different. So you are exposing them with two different underlying mechanics. So again, this is diversification.
Mm-hmm.
And this is cool. And we have been deploying this methodology. We started like 2-3 days ago only, but it goes fast because we've been thinking only for the past 10 days about
Yeah.
this new structure of tournament, and it show already good metrics on the D1 side, because they have been launching like D1 hyper casual,
Mm-hmm.
and it's monetizing twice on average than they were doing previously on
Amazing.
some D1.
Yeah.
And because I do believe it works, and if you select the best game, because there was another very big issue occurring, is that the game production was not aligned with the wish of tournament managers. And so the game producers, suddenly they would release games from nowhere. They would say, okay, I'm
True.
releasing Goman Bumper Attack, I'm releasing Lato Lato, I'm releasing
Yeah.
Ramadan Run or Sashimi Run. And I'm like, okay, what are these games? And because each time you're releasing a new game, the tournament managers, they test it, but they're
Yeah.
taking risk because you are producing the wrong
Absolutely.
game.
Absolutely. And it's completely, I mean, it's basically rolling the dice. It's like try and see if it
Exactly,
works. Mm-hmm. Agree?
exactly.
I
And
agree.
rolling the dice also with poor games. You're not proposing good games there. You are proposing
Exactly.
sometimes really shitty games.
I'm really
And
happy that you're here. I need to tell you that because I've been struggling with this a lot. And I've been talking about this for a long time on the sessions that we had with Grow Hacking. I said, like, maybe we should, robust the type of games that we're providing and all of this. So I'm glad that you're here. So I think that this is the proposals that you have this is the 30-day tournament, right? The puzzle one.
okay, so here is this is a page. Look, there is a Nikki page. Are you on the Nikki page? Because I've done
Yeah,
one for you here.
yeah.
So
I'm on Nikki.
Nikki, I'm a Nikki. So on a Nikki, no, I was proposing because after the discussion with Natalia, I thought that maybe you would prefer like a 7 days tournament, or but it could be 30 days here, definitely.
Is
And
that why
but
we propose
basically,
it this way with the 30 days? It's because we want to see the user behavior, right? We want to see from the first 2 weeks what is the activity that we get into the platform, how the users are behaving to the different type of games, and then
okay,
once we kick
okay,
off,
okay,
we have a better understanding of the community we have inside of Neki, right? In order to propose that.
okay,
So that's why
okay,
we did it
great,
in
okay,
this
great.
way.
Okay, and here you were accessing the whole portfolio of games. I could see from your list. So from my list, you should know that I've erased the poor games. I'm like, okay, I'm not
Love it.
going to propose to the tournament managers poor games,
Mm-hmm.
because this is my responsibility also, that you monetize as possible, and I cannot ask you to monetize on Goman bumper attack. It's impossible. You could take the best tournament manager in the world, he could not monetize this game. It's impossible. So there are some games you will never see on my list. You will never see Ship Up. You will never see Pixel Stars. You will never see Goman bumper attack and other very poor game. And I told Kunal and the game producer, I'm only pushing the games which have the best chance of monetization with the tournament managers. I want to align game production and
Yeah,
playability as a tournament.
I
Don't
love it.
drop me any poor games. I won't show them. And so you are losing your time here and you are destroying value. Because if the game dev, they spend their time, they spend
Yeah,
1 month reinventing the wheel and proposing me a lato lato, which is destroying huge value at Goama, it's a big risk for you. It's a huge risk because I won't push it because the perceived value of our portfolio will be destroyed, and I don't want
yeah,
this. And you are proposing me poor metric games. So
I love
you
it. I
should
love
align.
it.
We should all align with the best game for the audience of the tournament manager.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
so by diversification, I want a big push on puzzle. We are too
Mhm,
weak on puzzle, and I've been telling this as an advisor for the past year. We are too poor on puzzle.
mhm.
Puzzle would monetize much higher. I need puzzle game. I want puzzle game. We have a decent amount of good hyper casual. This is cool.
Mhm.
We don't need to deploy much more on this side. We need to focus on puzzle on the upper layer of D30 and stickiness ratio because this is where we can make a lot of money.
I agree.
But right now it's just random,
I
and the
I
randomness,
agree 100%, and I think that that should be the approach. Like that, if we're gonna release a game, it is because it's going to, I mean, it has been proven that that mechanic of that game works. That
yes,
is, and it's different. Like this is our catalog that should be completely different from what we can offer the client to personalize, right? Because that's on their end. If they want a personalized game, we should advise, of course, on what we know. But at the end, sometimes they just want to go with a specific game. That's fine, but that's different from the catalog we have. And if we're gonna use that catalog in different accounts, it needs to be for a reason. If we're gonna have a game there, it is because we know that that game works. So I agree
yes,
with you 100%.
yes, exactly. And okay, by the way, I've also circulate a new tournament list within the tournament manager thread. I
Mhm.
pinned it yesterday,
Yeah,
and
I
this is
saw
a
that.
list of many games that we have on the shelf. I purchased this portfolio last year for a top HTML5 publisher called Dunduk, and most of our most performing games are coming from them. And we purchased this portfolio, but it was not deployed. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to spend any more money here because I have all these good games. We have the source code, we have everything. I need them to be deployed. We have 40 or 50 super game in our backlog portfolio, which are just waiting for players and waiting to monetize. And so I proposed this list, and I have proposed my top 10 favorites for the weeks and months to come.
Mhm.
And I propose each and every tournament manager to put its own ranking. So if you could play whenever you have time, and these are super gameplay, and which one do you want to push, you just select your top 10 and you insert a small comment there. And this will serve as a basis for game production. And I will come back to the game producer and say, okay, this is the list of games we want. You forget about all your other mechanics, all the other games, because we are not going to push them. We are only going to push the games that the tournament managers love, because they are the best place to know their audience. They are best place to monetize very high. And currently, the process is broken, and we
Mhm.
should fix it because we are losing
Agree.
too much, or we are I think there is too much money left on the table with this system.
Yep.
So we change the production also. We align game production and playability for your audience. And then, so for Neki, here, so definitely we can adjust together because 7-day tournament, if you want to propose for 30 days, that's perfect. But what I was proposing here is a mix of my target here, as you could see, is I want to have 7 accessible game on any day, which would be like 3 puzzle game, like 2 arcade game, and 2 daily day one tournament. But I understand that you won't be proposing the day one, so we can readjust. But still, the game list is this one that I advise you to follow, because
I
from
love
my
it. Yeah.
study, these are the best games that we have. I only selecting also the best UI UX, because some of our games were too poor on UI UX, and I believe this had a huge impact on engagement.
It
So
has.
here from this list,
Yeah.
for instance, Cards 2048, for sure you can add a Puzzle 2048 Puzzle Rush. These games are very high D30 and stickiness ratio, and very good UI UX. All of these games, the 3 first one you could see, Cards, Merge Fish, Slice, they were made by Dunduk, the publishers that I was mentioning before. So the UI UX is super, and it's very different from all the other poor game we have.
I
You could directly see from the UI UX.
I just here I just have one question. It's like because I
Yes.
love this strategy and I would like to implement that, but these games, I believe we don't have the Spanish version. Can we get the Spanish version for these games?
And for Neki, they need the Spanish version?
Yeah. Yeah, actually we have to, because we had this plan, but they kind of said back to us that they needed only Spanish games. So that's why,
Okay,
for example, go ahead.
but for instance, 2048 Puzzle Rush, there is no tutorial. Should it be in Spanish or English? It's the same. There is no tutorial.
Okay. Let's do this. I'm gonna take a look into all of them and let you know,
Yes.
because if
Okay.
it has words coming up like, for example, play, or actions or extra points or something, that's something that we need to work on, because
Okay.
it's a
Okay.
requirement from the client. But I love
Okay.
this, and I think that
Okay.
this is your proposal for 7 days puzzle, but could we
Yes.
use this ones for the 30-day puzzle?
30. Yes. You can write 30 days here.
Okay.
Just write it
Cool.
30 days. It's good because the 30 days retention metrics and 7 days retention metrics for puzzle are very good. These are the highest. So in all case,
Perfect.
so you would say you would run how many tournaments in parallel?
We had the proposal to go with 9, and we have 3 that has to be highlighted, or the top tournaments.
Okay.
It's going
Okay.
to be, of course, the 2 sponsor and 1 additional one for the first week. It's going to be the free tournament, but the second week
Okay.
has
I
to be
cannot
at
hear
the
you.
top.
Yes. Okay. I can hear you now. Okay. Okay. All right. Can you revert to the other spreadsheet, please?
Yes.
Okay, so here you could run like 3 games in parallel during 1 month, it says, instead of 1 week. Sell 61. Here you could say during 1 month, I think, from this list. Below, it was my layer for 7 days. It was rather my layer
Okay.
for 7 days, and I was saying, okay, you could propose all these games, several games in parallel for tournament of 1 week. I was proposing, Shark Tank, because also Shark Tank is a nice one. It could also act like advertising on our side. This is what I was proposing, Shark Tank.
Yeah, we cannot
And
use this one because of the publicity. And in Neki, like, we
okay,
cannot make publicity for other partners unless that is like a sponsor.
okay,
But the
So
rest
you
of
can skip
them,
this
for
one.
sure.
Yes, and the rest of them, it was mainly arcade sports. Or Crazy Ball is more like a idler category, but it's very sticky. Players, they would play like half an hour on this one.
Yeah.
So for a 7-day tournament, it could be very, very sticky. Free
What
kick, football, but
questions?
this, yes?
What about the 3-week or 2-week tournaments that we're proposing? Should we go for the 30-day tournament puzzle idea, or
Okay, can you, okay, what are you proposing? 30 days?
Yeah, is that we have the 30 days and then we have 3 weeks, right? Which is
Okay, 30 days. So
almost.
is Croydon Crush like it's
Yeah,
a match 3.
yeah. You
If you can
have.
circulate me the play link, it will be great. But I believe it's a good one.
Mhm.
But I don't remember having played it. So this is why. And for 30 days, so you would propose Croydon Crush and any other 30 days?
Uh, 30 days will be Croydon Crush and Panda Sling for the paid tournament, but we can adjust it to
Okay,
be
because
one of
yeah,
this.
because Panda Sling, I love it, but it's 30 days is long on Panda Sling. I believe it's super for 7 days. Because this is
Okay.
arcade. You see, this is in my list from arcade for 7 days. It's super,
Hmm.
but it's not so sticky over 30 days. I believe
In
so.
in
For
our
30 days, a little bit
experience,
long.
I'm just
Yes.
sharing with you what has happened in Latam. This is one
Mm-hmm.
of the games that is like a favorite. We have tried it in different lengths, in month,
Okay. Okay.
3 weeks, two
Okay.
weeks, 1 week,
Okay.
and it always gives really good numbers.
Yeah.
Even
Yes, it
passing
is a
the
good
two
one.
week mark, which in Latam is like the limit. We have
Okay.
noticed that after, I mean, the game takes its peak at the second week, and then from then is like a decline, right? It does
Mm-hmm.
not happen with this game. That's why we propose it. But I love your proposal, so we can go with any of this. I just want to know, like, for example, for the next upcoming games that we have, like Hexagon Fall and Hit the Knife, like, because there are three
Like
weeks, are two
yes,
weeks.
Hexagon Fall is a good puzzle. It's a puzzle game, so duration is good. So this would be definitely on the list. Uh, I think it was not on my list here, only because I was doing is with Asia Pacific, and they had played
Hmm.
Hexagon Fall like last week or something. This is why it was not on my list. But you can definitely put Hexagon Fall on the 30 days tournament puzzle list because this one is good. Hexagon Fall is puzzle, is good.
Yeah, and
It's
it's
long.
really, and it's, I mean, it's one of the most played games that we have in Latam.
Yes, so this one definitely is good for 30 days. So Panda Sting is a little bit long for 30 days.
Hmm.
And quick question: have you ever experienced like Panda Sting? So I understand you have experienced all duration, but have
Yeah,
you ever done like 1 week tournament followed
yeah.
by 1 week tournament followed by 1 week tournament to see if it was monetizing more than a 3 week Panda Sting tournament?
Yeah, it with this game specifically, it has like a steady range. So during the weeks that we, because I mean, this one we have experimented a lot with PepsiCo. So
Mm-hmm.
I can show you also here what we have with PepsiCo. Uh, 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 um, so this is the program board for PepsiCo, and here, like, we can have the results on how the games have been, responding week after week since May until September.
Will it be
uh
possible to share this spreadsheet with me, please?
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Sure, sure, sure. It's in Spanish, but yeah.
So it's okay. I will practice my Spanish.
Great. Yes. But in week after week, that game had very, very outstanding results every week. So that was
Okay.
really impressive. I was not expecting that, to be honest with you, when we started. I thought it was gonna be like, the 1 week game and that's it. But it had really good and strong numbers, way above the rest of the games that we have in PepsiCo.
Okay. Okay.
So that's
Okay.
why
Super.
we propose it. But
Yes. Okay. Okay. Okay.
definitely we can revisit that. Like, I like your proposal,
No,
and I
no,
love
but
that is actually
there is a
backed out by numbers. That's why
yes.
it's better for me.
Yeah, yeah, but you can put like for 3 weeks, we can try Panda
Mhm,
Sling because here I only propose like a 30 days, 7 days, and 1 day.
mhm.
And obviously, you won't have this 1 day layer. So we can
Yes.
slightly restructure.
Yeah, I think that what we should do is probably this, right? Oh, and then put hexagon here, right? This is 4 weeks, this is 3 weeks, and this is 2 weeks. I will take a look into the list to see which one we can use here better, and to do the staircase for the pay tournaments, because honestly this is going to be the first time that we have pay tournaments in Latam. I mean, with actual money, right?
Okay,
Not like loyalty points.
okay.
So it's really important that we start really strong. So all of your advices, trust me, we're
Okay.
gonna take them in, because we need to make sure that this works. So it will be a good
Yeah,
pilot
yeah.
for you as well. Right, like this is
Oh yes,
the
definitely.
first
Yeah,
try.
yeah.
Yeah. That
This is
we will
yeah.
start
This
from
is good.
scratch, right?
Yes, and as I told to Jean and to Dana, it's also important to start with the biggest account to fix, because if
Yeah.
we can prove it, then the biggest account, this is where we have most leverage.
Hmm.
Definitely, because
I
if
agree.
our experiment works, but we are only experimenting on the 50 players,
Hmm.
okay, it doesn't mean we're monetizing that high. Uh, so let's deploy with big accounts, definitely. And
Sure.
so yes, Hexagon Fall is a puzzle game. So for 30 days, it's definitely appropriate. Or for 30 days, when I say 30 days, it could be like 3 weeks or so.
Hmm.
Uh, After I was proposing arcade sport slash driving, but we don't have that much good driving, and I would definitely recommend you to avoid the Drift King that I've seen. It's too poor. This
Okay.
one is
Good.
too poor. It's better to wait for. Um, you will see. You will see, because on also on the tournament new list
Hmm.
that you can discover in Slack,
I would love
there is
that
some proposal.
mhm. I would love that the new
There are some proposal
upcoming
for
games
driving.
are identified on this three categories. Like if we can from now on, like the list of games and all of that, like classify it on these three categories, that would be awesome, and it would be really helpful for all of us, because we will
What do you
have
mean by categories? You
and
mean
I
by
mean that,
duration?
yeah, because you see that the well, I don't have here the one that you sent, but on the list that we have, this one, right? Uh, 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 um,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah.
Games
So,
available, and there
mhm.
is no this. Yes, I can. I could add. Okay, what is best suited for? I mean, putting the engagement matrix somewhere.
Yeah, it would be, or create a new file, right? Just for the
Yes,
tournament
yes, we're
managers, that has
exact.
just the three categories. Like these are the games that are
Yes,
good for a 30-day period, like, and then the
yes,
list. And then these are the games
yes,
that are good for 7, and so on. So it will make
yes,
it easier for us, like to identify
yes,
and work with that, along with
yes.
our calendars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure, sure, sure. I will definitely do this, and but also it might take a few weeks to deploy this brand new portfolio. But for the
Hmm.
time being, these games here are available, and they are the best we have on the shelf. So I think you could live with this list
Hmm.
for at least the coming months,
Hmm.
uh, up to the date where we have deployed the whole portfolio. But here, this is a good list, and given the fact that some days some the puzzle games were weak, but on the other hand they are displayed for 30 days, so it gives us time to deploy other tournaments because we don't have to rotate them too much. It's only a 30-day rotation on the puzzle side. So even though we only have 10 games, okay, it also means we can be there for 5 months with our 10 games being run in parallel. So, um, so this is good also. And so for the arcade sport, yes. So short tank you can skip for sure. Crazy ball free kick. This is the best. This is the best version of soccer that we have, definitely the best one.
There,
Halloween
there
night
is
is a game. Yeah, go.
there is another games that we have been we have, I don't know, dribble master, and we also
Dribble
have
master, dribble master.
soccer, what's the name, I just forget, because we have it in Spanish, but it's like soccer free kick, I think.
Yes, there is a
um
soccer free kick, which I believe the UI UX uh, is less good than this one,
okay,
because we have
good, good.
several, and this one you will test, because for
Hmm.
sure you have to play all the game. and you will see, okay, the UI UX and the gameplay of Free Kick is better than the other one.
Okay.
It's
Thank
just
you.
nicer. It's a better feeling.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
selected Halloween Night. Halloween Night is certainly a game you haven't played, because by its name, people believe it could only be played on Halloween, but it's just a super gameplay. This one is great for like a 7 day, because the graphics are awesome, but unfortunately, it was only displayed for Halloween during 2 days each year, and so it's a shame. This one is great. Panda Sling for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Stickman Pond was good. Was good sport UI UX, I believe. It's the Knife,
Mm-hmm.
super good. Hyper Snake and Fruit Masters. And this is to note that Fruit Master, Hyper Snake, It's the Knife, Free Kick are coming from Dunduk. You will
Oh, okay.
recognize some pattern in the UI UX. You will
Yeah,
feel
I've
it.
seen that.
It's so much better
I've
than
seen
we can
that.
propose.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And so this is the list. This one I was proposing. It could be like your 15 days list, like something in between, 15 days tournament or something, if you wish.
Cool.
These games are good up to 15 days, I would say.
Okay, perfect. So
So
we will
you
take
can
this,
correct.
review
Yes,
this,
you can.
and take a look into maybe if some of them have a Spanish version. I do know some of the ones here do.
Yes,
If the other ones don't, I will try to see if maybe it's not that obvious that that you need to follow instructions or something, and then we can use them. And
yes,
I will give you the feedback, because I do want
yes,
to integrate this into the calendar we have, so we can
yes,
start strong with Nikki.
yes, exactly. And then there was the 1 day tournament below a list.
Yeah.
So mainly it was a hyper casual year. So these are all the best game we have in hyper casual that you can certainly propose for 1 day.
Okay.
It's like this one, okay, they're super good for 1 day. And for sure, the other one above are good for 1 day
Mm-hmm.
also. But this one more specifically, okay, it will be hard to propose for a longer period,
Mm-hmm.
but they're very strong. They can monetize very high on D1. But I would say for this one, you have to see if it will be maybe for the rest of the deployment, it will be
Mm-hmm.
your smallest duration for this
Okay.
one. You
Okay.
cannot go for with this one for 30 days.
Yeah.
It
Understood.
could be
Mm-hmm.
it could be dangerous
Yeah.
for your court waterfall.
Yeah.
But
And
for
by
all
the gains that I see, I understand why. And it happens. It happens a lot. Like we see that on the numbers
yes,
that
exactly.
we
So
get
here
here.
you might have a list of around 30 days. So for the deployment with Neki, and in the meantime, we're still developing other games.
Mm-hmm.
So you could safely launch, I believe, with these games. But
Perfect.
don't take too much risk with other games. Don't propose drift king or these games. The UI UX is so poor, it can destroy your cohort. It's destroying value sometimes. But we will make sure that in the meantime, the game producer are only developing the game you like.
Mm-hmm.
So there you will see on the tournament new list of tournament, just pick up the 10 best. And just imagine this is only for Neki. Just
Mm-hmm.
take the 10 best for Neki
Yeah.
in the list, and we will make sure, okay, these are the one coming into production. Stop everything else, Kunal and your team, only focus on this one. Because this one,
Mm-hmm.
best for Neki, as as Karen is the expert in her audience, and so we will deploy them accordingly.
Perfect.
And
I love it.
so,
I love this. I love it.
and I think for now it's just a theory. Deploying this market efficiency theory toward the portfolio of tournament games. Okay, this is just a theory.
But
But
that's what growth hacking is about, right? Like you have a theory, you
yeah,
have a hypothesis, and then you try it and get results. And if you prove
yeah,
your theory, it becomes a fact, and then you need to continue reproducing that because you know it works.
yes, exactly. And this is what up to now we were not able to manage because there were numbers a little bit everywhere, and we cannot reproduce our performance each time.
Yeah.
Here, what I'm looking for, in fact, is for you to have less risk as a tournament manager. I want to reduce the risk that
Yeah.
your revenues are too volatile, etc. Because it would put too much pressure on you. Whereas if I provide you with a good game for a good duration, then I could lower your risk over the months, and your client will be
Yeah.
happy also because you don't have
Of
to forget that
course.
somehow we are selling an engagement. And what does it mean selling engagement for tournaments? It means we're selling a steady stream of revenues to your partners. And what they hate the most, the
No, and
corporate,
mhm.
is volatility in the revenues.
And this is perfect, Fabian, because it also helps our commercial department, because most of the times, and most of the times I mean all of the times, the clients ask us for recommendation on games, and the way it's been done right now is just basically handpicking the games that we kind of think they work, and sometimes even new games that we haven't even tried. So it's going to help everywhere with the monetization, because it's from the beginning we can present to the clients games that we know they work, and they will generate a specific behavior on the users. Everything will be better from the beginning, because the experience will be better, the clients will be happier, we will have more active users on the platforms, and therefore, if we're going to introduce paid tournaments, higher revenue. So
Oh, yes,
this
definitely.
is amazing. Like, I
Yeah.
love it, and I think this is what we should have been doing from a long time, but it's good that now we're picking up.
You can go to the moon with this if it
Yeah,
proves correct.
agree. Exactly.
But then this is why we're deploying the same list of games a little bit everywhere for all tournament managers so we can compare after. Because so this is what I said. Okay, just pick on the list, please, because we need to test it. If it works,
Mhm.
okay, we'll make a lot of money for everyone, and that would be
Yeah,
cool. Perfect. That's super.
perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
And
time and all of this. I love it. I'm really excited. This is what we needed. So
cool.
amazing. Count with
So
me for anything.
that's super. Thank you, Karen, and talk to you on Monday.
Sure. Thank you,
Have a
Fabian.
nice
Bye.
weekend.
You too.
Bye.